All right, guys, it's time for the Next Level Guy Show, a men's interview, interest, and improvement-focused podcast featuring interviews with the greats from all industries to help you better your life. Each week, a new episode features an interview with one of the greats, covering all aspects of their story, from life hacks to tips and protocols that have allowed them to live life on the next level. We then highlight concrete action steps that you can use to improve your life. And now, your host, Ian Dawson Mackay.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't that hard. People just make it hard by chasing fluff. If you focus on movement and fundamentals, everything else falls into place. And that is a quote from today's guest, Randy Williams. But what if Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't actually that hard? My guest today says the problem isn't the art itself, it's a way we've been taught to overcomplicate it in its learning approach. Meet Randy Williams. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a straight-talking coach who's on a mission to cut through the fluff and show you why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually isn't that hard. He made the call, "You guys are fucking stupid," the call to all Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners who are fed up with the flashy and want to be effective and actually get somewhere in the sport. From teaching as a blue belt to revolutionizing the teaching of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to competing worldwide, Randy brings raw honesty, practical wisdom, and a no bullshit approach to mastering the art. And let's get to the interview. Here's Randy. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a dream because I generally have followed you for so long now. But your bio proudly states BJJ isn't that hard. In a world of where people make it hard, what do we do? How do we overcomplicate jiu-jitsu?
Excuse me. I think most of the overcomplication comes from two main things. The instructor wanting to be needed, so to keep getting paid. You see it in the fitness industry all the time. You could just deadlift, bench, and all the basic shit, but now we got to do some crazy ass jumpy flippy shit. And the other is insecurity and lack of confidence on the athlete's part. When you've never played a sport and you come into a gym that you see a bunch of shredded dudes, let's just say we have a bunch of shredded dudes, it can be intimidating. And I do understand that. But it really comes down to just, do you think you can do it? And is your instructor making it simple enough so you believe you can do it?
It makes a lot of sense because when you first start, it's all this kind of, you see people doing this fancy flips and transition, and you're like, what? I have no idea what I'm doing because it's so out of the norm of what we normally do in life. To suddenly have your personal space invaded by this big sweaty guy in pajamas on top of you, you're like, oh, how did you get into jiu-jitsu? Was there a defining moment that kind of made you think, I need to try this sport?
So, no, actually. I was a high school lacrosse and soccer goalkeeper. I was highly aggressive as it was. I was the goalie that would just attack the ball. I had no fear of my own safety. You're a
traditional goalie then.
Yeah, I was nuts, dude. That was nuts. But I was really good. I was All-American. After a year of playing it, I got to a point where my aggression got the best of me. I got red carded a couple times, and I was in the U.S. There's a truancy court for athletics in school, and I got in a lot of trouble because I was just an asshole. I'm not going to lie there. And I started dating this girl, my son's mother, and I was going to her house for this. I think it was like the second or third time, and her dad was like, "Hey, you want to help? You want to make some money?" I'm like, yeah, of course I want to make some money. So we're like moving stones in his backyard and for like a border around his pool. So it wasn't really fun, but money. And then he was like, do you wrestle? I'm like, no. want to wrestle? Like, sure, I guess. And I was like, I'm athletic. I thought I was athletic as 125 pounds, and he was just a 45-year-old dude. So I shot and tried to take him down, and then he pulled guard and triangle choked me and sprained my thumb because my hand was in there. And I was like, that was fucking gay. I need to know how to do that so that shit never happens again. I was so mad. And then I started in his basement. He had old Craig Kukluk tapes. He was a blue belt under Henzo. And that was the beginning of the end for me with jiu-jitsu.
Why? Once it sucks you in, you've got no chance. You're stuck.
Oh, dude, I knew that. I make the joke, the darker my belt got, the more egotistical I got. Because it's like, what are you going to do? Beat me up now? Come on, old man.
Because I heard you say in an interview that you played 3 sports. So it was lacrosse, football, and what was the other one?
Basketball.
So you were pretty much an all-rounder. I mean, you were all-American. So do you think that's
what made... basketball. I wasn't very good at that one.
No, but we don't need to talk about that. We need to just get, the top 2, like, you know. So, do you think the fact that you trained in a lot of that sports, it gave you that cross training, and that way it made you a better teacher because you could actually understand the mechanics rather than just the techniques?
I think so completely. I don't know how much you know. Well, you call it football. You probably know more about soccer than I do. I don't even watch it. But if you watch the way they do lunges and the way they pass and use their feet, that's how my passing is in jiu-jitsu. It's no different. I do a lot of footwork, the same things, right? Because all sports in this end are just hip movement, all of them. I don't think there's an exception to that rule, honestly. It's just learning how to open and close your hips, hip extension, hip compression. And with jiu-jitsu, just add some front rolls and call it a day. But
it sounds like every warm-up I've ever done in jiu-jitsu at the minute, like...
Exactly. It's unfortunate no one does warm-ups anymore. They think it's boring.
Well, unless you're now, was it in the Globetrotter ones, or no, the one when it's like you have to levitate and all that kind of stuff, and it's like you see some of these affiliates and you're like, what the hell is happening? I started in Gracie Barra, and you had to like bow to the Gracie as you stepped on and off the mat. You had to call each other professor, and you were like a pupil, and you had to sign a card if you're a bad boy, and all this kind of nonsense. And I just thought,
there's a lot of
it. Was that why you moved originally? You just found that restrictions from your initial teaching at the Gracies to moving across, or was there something else? Because your wife's in the military, so you moved, wasn't it?
Yeah. So let's go back a half a step here. I started jiu-jitsu in more of an American style anyway. I never, at first, like first year, we were under like a Pedro Sauer affiliate, but it's not like you ever went there. It was just, it just is what it was at that time.
Yeah.
And we didn't bow and do all that stuff. There wasn't even jiu-jitsu. It was just MMA when I started. And then that gym went under my current professor, and he was a little more traditional, but he was still, his traditionalism was more about safety. Like, he picked our partners for us. We lined up by rank. We bowed to each other, bowed to the mat. That was important. It's still important to me, bow to your training situation. But we never bowed to pictures on the wall or anything like that. Everything was about mutual respect with my professor. And he's an old school Brazilian guy.
I've got a guy like that just now, and you come into his place and he's just like, call me Marcus, just like, he doesn't want any pumps there. It's like, we're all here to learn, we're all here to have fun. It's just we're not better or anything, we're just learning a sport, and it's actually an amazing place to learn. But how did you find, because you've talked in another interview, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but you talked about growing up in foster care, that you had some anger, you had some ego, that you lived in the gym for a while and that, but you said that the sport really helped you find yourself. How do you think that helped you channel your pangs of growing up into becoming the awesome guy that you are now?
A lot of it was, I live a lot of my life by like stupid quotes that somebody told me, like do it right or do it twice, kind of things like that, right? And I always internalized those things. And one of them that really stuck with me is, you learn from your father, whether to be like him or not like him. So I made it a point to take the good of him, but also get rid of the bad. Because my dad wasn't a terrible human. He just didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He was by himself with 3 kids. I can't fault him completely. I'm also older and a little wiser now, so I can't.
That's the most important part, isn't it? It's
like, I was an angry little bastard for a while, man. Even up until I would argue until I was like a brown belt, new black belt. I just had to always win. Everything had to be proving a point. And now I just don't care. I do care, but I don't care about certain things anymore.
And do you think that it helps you cut through the bullshit in it, that, you know, you now see the sport for the enjoyment of it? It's not about the ego winning. It's about the taking part. And is that why you've discovered like the simplicity of it was best rather than overcomplicating it?
Well, the simplicity thing was always what I was, right? Even in my other sports, when I was a soccer player, I didn't get good at anything but diving. If I knew how to cut off angles, it didn't fucking matter how athletic I was. If I was smarter than you and more aggressive than you, it didn't matter. I was not the best goalkeeper. I really wasn't the best keeper, but I was an All-American keeper. I have the state record in Delaware for saves in a game. That's also because my team sucks, don't get me wrong. But we only won like 2 games, dude. But I would average like 30 saves a game. It was ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I wasn't afraid. And sorry, I messed myself up there. I didn't care about bodily harm, but because I cared more about losing, unfortunately. So that's kind of how that all went. And then with jiu-jitsu, it was the same thing for a while. I didn't care about getting broken. I have a couple injuries because I'm an idiot, but I cared more about winning. And the older I got in the sport, the more people I started to teach and realize this isn't a way of life for everybody. That's when I started to calm down a little bit and make it just simple so everyone can understand. I don't need to be smarter than everybody else just because I am. In the jiu-jitsu context, that is.
I mean, I love like the persona that is in your videos is the same guy that you are day to day, and I can't imagine you even crazier getting sent off at football and stuff. So
I was so much worse. I've broken my hand on several goalposts, man.
Okay, that I can understand it now. Like,
I hated losing.
Do you think that's like a lot of people are overcomplicating it now? That they're because a lot of your videos are like on the mechanics, the principles of the techniques. Mm-hmm. You seem to say like if we can understand the mechanics, we don't need to worry about the flashy technique or what they're going to do because you know what they're going to do, almost like a Jedi trick. How you? Is that where we overcomplicate it? We worry about the flashy shit rather than just the DNA of the sport.
The thing is, the flashy shit is just different applied principles. If you look at a bolo, it's mechanically the same in my mind as an armbar. That's why I'm relatively good at bolos. I never actually drill very bolos. I could just do them because it's a limb between my legs and a fulcrum. Excuse me. So once you start looking at things that way, it's a lot easier to put things in a broader context, right? So if every single submission, that's a limb anyway, is just something between your legs, the goal should always be get something between your legs. Be a man. That's always the goal, right? But
I've been trying that for years, mate. Never happening.
I got lucky. I married way up. But once you know the most basic shit, it all funnels into each other. And then the fancy shit just comes naturally. Like if you watch me roll, I'll spend the first couple of minutes just being an asshole, just flipping and doing all kinds of dumb shit. And then the last half, I'm like, okay, time to be disciplined now and actually practice because everything ends up just being the same. I know that was an oversimplification, but I don't know how to explain it much better than that.
No, it makes a lot of sense because once you start seeing the mechanics or the core principles of it, you see that pretty much every move involves like a hip change or momentum, like finding your base or a transfer of pressure, or there's so many things that you can kind of go, oh, that's the same as that, even though it looks like a completely different position. Mm-hmm. And what's the current setup? Is it your wife that's in the military and you were a former police officer, or
Oh no, I've always been kind of I guess, a loser. Essentially, I'd never had a real job. I've always just done jujitsu and part-time gigs. My wife is a military officer.
And has any of that sort of rubbed? Because I was quite interested in because you've travelled around with her. Has any of the military side of things passed over to you? Like, do you see any of the habits that she instills, or would that defeat the black belt randiness of your job?
So my wife loves what I do. She thinks it's more just hilarious, but because she doesn't like the idea of grappling me. She just doesn't. That's not her deal. She's not a fan of the actual sport. She's more of she works HR. She's like a singer. She's very gentle. But the military stuff, the habits, she's not as disciplined as I am at all. And that's fine and dandy. She doesn't have to be because I do everything for her. I cook all her food. I do everything I can because that's how I keep myself sane, dude. Like, I got to always be doing something. She comes home and is just a wife and a mom. That's her job. And make money, I guess. Yeah, that too. But
I love that. I love that you've got your principles. That I know I treat my partner right. I'm a good father. I'm doing this. I'm giving out to the jiu-jitsu community. But you're also a loving husband, loving husband, father, and you're not one of these people who just takes over the sport and thinks, yeah, that's it. I'm the best because I can do jiu-jitsu. You realize there's other facets of being a man.
oh, it does. It took me a while to learn that, dude. I've had failed relationships. I've messed up a lot because a specific one that still eats at me a little bit. I got over it, but every once in a while. There was a training class I wanted to go to. I had something on my mind I wanted to try, but it was the same night that like Santa on the fire truck was coming to see all the kids in our town. I was like, yeah, I got to go to jiu-jitsu. And that event, even though it's a yearly thing, it happens every year, didn't happen again because we moved. And it's one of those few things I kind of regret. I'm like, man, I should have just missed jiu-jitsu for a day.
Yeah, well, they say hindsight's a bitch, isn't it? It's...
it can be for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, though, is if you learn from it and if you grow from it, then it is a win in a way because you're not that same person. And the fact that you can appreciate it, that, you probably should have, but you can't change time, but you can do it again better the next time. It shows the growth in you. Do you find that's what helps with jiu-jitsu? It shuts off that part of your brain, that thinking, the aggression, while you're kicking ass.
It's interesting because when I train, when I'm teaching, I'm more the way I am online and everything, but when I roll, everything is relatively the first. I give you 2-3 minutes to be fun and playful, but the other half is me just being disciplined and doing what I'm going to do because that's the only way I personally can get better. So it has to be that balance of, yeah, let's have fun and roll, but I'm going to beat the shit out of you now. Because I still want to progress. I still want to get better. And I will always believe the old Joe Rogan quote, beat the shit out of blue belts and you'll get really good at jiu-jitsu.
I'm not going to say that I have my blue belt, so that's quite scary.
It's true, man.
I was going to say, you started teaching as a blue belt.
Yeah.
That's quite a hell of impressive. I was a moron at blue belt. I'm still a moron now.
I was an idiot too. But it's easy when everyone's a white belt.
So how did that work? I mean, did you find that the fact that you were closer to the beginner mindset helped you be a better coach because you could understand it rather than somebody who'd been a black belt for 10 years and has never really remembered what a beginner mindset or approach is?
I think what helped me the most at that time was that I was already an athlete being coached in other sports like soccer, lacrosse, whatever. So I just took the same methods. In soccer and lacrosse, it's not like you learn 2 passes or 2 plays and then just play a game like the old school. Let's learn some technique and roll. It was, hey, we're going to do line draws. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then at the end of the week, we're going to scrimmage. And that's how I treated it with jiu-jitsu. I did a lot of line draws, a lot of situationals. I would make up drills that I felt made sense at the time. Some of them are dumb, but some of them I still use today. And that's just kind of how I thought about it as an actual sport. And then the older I got, I started adding back in the self-defense stuff because of principles, and that's important too.
So when you first started, was there a point where you maybe went the traditional route and you thought, oh, wait, no, that belief or that way of thinking is holding me back? Or did you automatically just go in with your kind of style of thinking and go, I'm not doing that because it's wrong? Did you go down the traditional path and then become the guy that we all know and love?
I actually don't believe I ever did the typical teach 3 techniques and roll. I don't think I've ever done that. I might have, don't get me wrong. Maybe in the first couple classes. I don't honestly remember my first time teaching. But I would do what my professor does. He would teach a single technique and then be like, all right, see you next month. And you're like, wait, what? But he was really about, you need to understand this for a long period of time. And I internalized that like I do with every kind of quote I get. And I would just do the same thing he taught me for a month and just make it work. Find ways to make it work. I was struggling with a technique once, and he said, just keep forcing it until it flows. And that was the opposite of what everyone else always told us back then. Oh, it's all about go with the flow. Man, shut up. No, it's not. You can't flow until you understand what's going on.
No, it's a great point, because how often do you see these other gyms where they'll go, we have a 16-week revolving program, and you think, oh, that sounds okay. And then you're only spending like one session on this particular movement, and you never see it again and then they change the program later on, and you're like, so do we not do that again? And your brain kind of goes, I was just getting the hang of that. And I'm like, what the
I tried to be in the middle of the old school guys and these fucking dumbasses of today, because old school guys, 3 techniques, roll. Dumbasses, we're going to do the same games for a month at a time. That shit gets boring. So everything I've done was a lot of situationals, but 2-week periods. Like I have a rotating schedule. It's 10 weeks, but it's based on the 5 major positions, 2 weeks each one top, one bottom. And I change the techniques on what I see fit for the room I'm in, right? So it'd be guard, passing, guard, retention, or guard techniques depend. Guard usually gets a little more time because there's a lot more to it. And then side control top, side control bottom. But every day is situationals of that. So you're getting to work both sides for 2 weeks at a time.
I actually really like that style of teaching. That moment of like, we're going to go round and around, but we're going to learn the principle, but we're going to do it, and then we're going to expand like a computer game. Like when you get a bit more of the map, it kind of opens up, and you're like,
exactly.
So I can right, and then you work from there, and then you feel fantastic till the coach teaches the transition to stop what you've just done, and you're like, okay, here we go again, and that's
why it's in a particular order. So that's why the order matters. You do guard first. So the next day or the next 2 weeks would be half guard, because more often than not, when you recover your guard, you get to half. When you're passing and you fuck up, you end up in half. And then we go to side control, then mount, then back. Like there's a method to my madness for sure. But it's very positional dominance based. My guys may not be the best submission hunters at the moment, but they will hold you down until you fuck up, and then you'll get submitted.
Because that's what I love about your videos, because when you first see them, you're like, this guy's funny, he's got a banter, and then you're kind of like, okay, that was deep. Okay, I understood that. And then before you know it, you're like, shit, I've just learned a load more than I probably have in about 5 classes from a couple of your Instagram shorts. And you're like, so I don't get why we can't have more teachers like you, but then I suppose that's the thing, isn't it?
It's just ego, honestly. There are a lot of good teachers one-on-one. Don't get me wrong. There's some of the best guys I've ever rolled with are the worst fucking teachers, but they taught me a lot because of how we rolled, how they could communicate in a situation. But they can't communicate to an idiot. And another one of those quotes, if you treat everyone like a toddler, you'll never get impatient or mad because they're stupid. So you break it down in a way they can understand, and it just is. And then they can understand. You can start to build on that. Because if there's nothing to build on, you might as well build off just the most basic positions.
Because that's what I said to a few people was like, when they're learning to drive, is assume the person in front of you will do the most stupid thing possible. And you just wait for that moment and react. And it's the same in jiu-jitsu. They always push off you, or they leave an arm out or whatever. And it's almost like, okay. And it's only when you've been training for a bit of time, you start going, so I'm grabbing that arm because they're leaving it out. Oh, that's what I did at the start. And it's like a full circle. You learn and go, I was a moron back then myself. It's because you talk about, is it organic jiu-jitsu and fluid movements and things like that? Where did that kind of concepts come from? That kind of understanding of oversimplification of it, of kind of going, these are the things we can actually make as better practitioners.
So when I moved to Mississippi, I had a lot of free time, right? Like I said, I don't have a part-time job. I was just teaching. And I was just thinking, stand-up and bass is pretty cool. And it was driven into my head by one of the first instructors I ever had. He's an old school, balance jiu-jitsu guy. And he was like the OG black belt in Delaware. His name was Alex. And he would always say, you just stand up and bass all the time. And I just never got that. And then one day I was like, I get it now. Because he would just say, just stand up and bass. How you get off the couch, stand up and bass. How you get off the floor with your kids, stand up and bass. And so I just did that because he was my coach. Why would I not listen? And I still do that. I still drill, stand up and bass, because everything in jiu-jitsu is some form of stand up and bass. A hip escape is a pivot on your shoulder and the far side foot. A lot of sweeps are just stand up and bass. My closed guard, I put all my weight on my knee on your back, and hip switch, that's standing up and bass. It's all the same thing. And then I went down that rabbit hole of trying to find everything that's the same, and drove myself kind of mad with notes. But there's that.
I think a lot of people like me just now, my brain has literally gone that picture, and then sort of combining the two of them and going, how have you not seen this before? And oh god, that's that and that. It's just 2 minutes in with you, and you're like, Jesus, you've completely revolutionized how we would view jiu-jitsu. I think a lot of people, white belts, should watch your stuff, because you teach the stuff that we no longer get anymore, because they're all talking about their branding. All these gyms want to focus on, we're different, we're unique, we're special.
You just brought up a great point. I don't want to be a hater, but Chris Bones saying, I didn't learn this my first 20 years. How? Because back then, this is how I was taught. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
When I see instructors that are these old heads, which is great. I love the old school generation. I fit more in with them than I do the new one, I think. I think I'm a nice balance, per se. Anyway, sorry. I don't understand how they don't know self-defense. How can you be doing jiu-jitsu 20 years and not know the self-defense aspect? How can you not understand weight distribution? That's something that recently has been bugging me a little bit, because that's how we were taught. That's how, what I'm telling you, I was taught that. I didn't figure it out on my own entirely. I just simplified it to a degree and made it easier for everyone to access, but I didn't invent anything. Maybe a couple of transitions I've never seen before, but I'm sure somebody's done it. Because all I do is combine the most basic techniques with hip switching. So instead of armbar to triangle, I do armbar to omoplata, because it's an easier, faster, quicker hip switch. And the shorter your transitions, the less places the technique can break down. And omoplatas are cool. So that's kind of how I think about everything. Efficiency, weight distribution principles, and find the best way to do it. And that's relative to you, because your best way is not going to be my best way. We're different bodies.
Yeah, I'm also a lot fatter. I do a lot of pressure passing.
So do I. For me. Pressure is great, man. But again,
I've got no choice. There's just allow me to go round. It's like Michelin, man.
Yeah. That brings me up to the efficiency is relative, and people don't want to understand that. Most professors will teach you their way and say it's the most efficient way, and it's not. I cannot teach you my passing style because you will get exhausted. But you have weight on me. It's efficient for you to just pin my fucking hips and hold me there until I blow my load and get tired.
No, because that's how I actually started getting good at it, because I was kind of like, oh, Why am I doing what all these fit young guys who are doing cartwheels and standing on their head can do when I would collapse the structural wall if I did it against the wall? So why am I trying to be them, and why not be myself? And because there was a lot of stuff I learned from your stuff going, why was I never showed that in my last gym? And then I realized it's maybe the coach didn't know himself. Maybe he was only allowed to coach certain movements. Maybe he'd been having a beginner for so long that just showing move A to move B to move C to sub D, maybe not subbing to D. You get to that point where people are going, okay, but what do we do in between? And they've forgotten how to be a coach because they've never really thought about it. They've gone through the motions so often. So, I mean, there's thousands.
That's a big thing of it. Going through the motions, man. Everyone loses discipline. I have moments of losing discipline. But I say the biggest quitters in jiu-jitsu are blue belts and black belts. Blue belts physically quit. Black belts mentally check out. They're like, fuck it, I made it. I'm the leader of the room now. I can do whatever. And that's fine and dandy if you don't really care about getting better, but you won't get better. And that coasting is a detriment to your students. And I think that goes back to, I've been teaching basically my whole adult life, beginners, white and blue belts. I rarely have had high level training partners. I just would stay disciplined because I could submit a blue belt 30 times if I really wanted to, but that's a waste of time for both of us.
Yeah.
Truly controlling that person's movement. That's the art form I want to chase now. Because anybody can submit anybody on any day, but to truly control somebody to the point of they give up is pretty cool.
It's time for a quick break. There are millions of potential products to buy, so how do you know which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Simple. You go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and explore those that will transform and improve your life. You'll find deals, listener exclusives, and special offers with some great companies. Recommendations are 100% honest and only on items Ian has tried or believes in. The companies showcased will make you a better man in all areas of your life. Simply go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and level up.
I think that takes far more skill.
No, it certainly does. It's anybody could get an armbar if they know roughly how to do it. But when you have somebody defending because they know you're looking for an armbar, and then they suddenly go, "But what do I do now?" And they're like, "Oh, we haven't learned that bit yet." Well, you're not going to win that roll, or you're going to get tapped out, or whatever. So I mean, there's thousands of different positions, attacks, transitions, pass. No wonder people get overcomplicated.
Oh yeah.
So when they're doing it from side control, from guard, from standing up, or is there basic principles you say to anybody like, if you're sitting down and they're standing up, get up again. If you're in side control, immediately get connections. Do you have things where, does it depend on the situation, or are there things you say immediately re-grip, reconnect?
I have immediate things for immediate people. So if I knew you and your style, I would have rules for you to follow based on you. But I don't have any absolutes, no. I think the closest thing to an absolute I have is stay on your fucking toes. Like, dude, if you can't stay on your toes, it's a problem.
Oh, yeah. What does it call it? Dead feet when they go floppy
Yeah. Dead feet means you can't stand up at any given moment. When you're on your toes, if someone drives into you, you just rock back and you can stand up. You should always have live toes.
So is that the sort of thing that you see that is hurting a lot of students? They don't even get basic information like keep on your toes, that they just allow them to just try the movements without correcting the
exactly.
The
it's going through the motions. So again, the new age guys want to say drilling is outdated and it sucks. It does when you do it wrong. Yeah, when you just go through the motions. When the teacher shows you something, you go with your partner, fuck off, and just kind of, yeah, it's not going to work. But when you go and drill a movement with intention, why am I turning my hand this way? Why am I locking my elbow down? and do it properly, slowly, with control over your own movement patterns, drilling is highly valuable when you take your time. But nobody takes their time at that. Everyone fucks off it. Even I fuck off when that happens because we've done it a couple of times, But if you can stay disciplined in that part and then get to the situationals, you'll have far more success.
Because how many times do you hear somebody saying, "Oh, I don't drill to my left. I always go to my right," and you're thinking, "Well, you're screwed then if you can only go to the left."
Yeah,
and I don't understand that logic.
So I do have a left and a right game based on previous injuries. Like I have a torn PCL in one knee and a torn ACL in the other. So I can only butterfly hook with one of them properly. So I have a butterfly game that's that side. But if someone forces me on the other side, I have a game for that. I don't think the techniques need to be the same, but I do think and believe you need to have a game for both sides.
So how
like I can I can do a lot of things on both sides, but there's certain things that I'm like, I do one way on one way and one way on the other way.
Aye, but see, the fact that you've got a black belt also helps. You can figure it out as we go. I tend to just sit there and go, "What the hell do you do again?" You go from here. Because we were always taught move A, move B, move C. No one taught us how to actually go from that to that, or what to do if they stop that bit, or how they transition from this. It was always, here's the fancy stuff, here's the thing that the flavor of the day. And the jiu-jitsu culture's got a lot of fluff, a lot of bullshit. How do we work out between the fluff and the fancy stuff to actually looking and going, that's what we need to focus on? Is there a way we can gauge if we're looking on YouTube or instructionals what's valid to take?
That's an interesting one. Let me give me a second here. I would watch competition and what actually works at the highest levels. And if you notice, the greatest grapplers, Marcelo, Hajo, Gordon, I would even put Adam Wodzeski up there at the moment, are all surprisingly simple grapplers. They're all systemized, and that's why they win. It's consistent, simple effort over long periods of time. And that's all it really is. When you watch people like them, they all follow the same old school Gracie approach of make your opponent tired, capitalize on it. Wear them out, capitalize on it. Adam, he was 35 in the adult division. That's pretty old. And people were faster. He just wear them out. When they would try to take his back, get his cool sit-up sweeps, butterfly sweeps, wear them out on top, submit them from out. That's what Hajo did. That's what Gordon does with his camping. Everyone does that are really good. They follow no matter who you are, the goal in the end is the same. Make the other person tired enough that you can submit them. And if nobody gets tired, generally the person on top is going to win. And that rule doesn't really change no matter what format you're doing. What rule set, sorry.
Well, I've had Hodger and Bernardo Ferrara on, and they said similar, was, why would I play to defend their strengths? I'm just going to focus on the moves I know, transition, they're going to get connection, and they're going to slowly just build their way through. They're not going to overcomplicate it. They're just going to cook the person to the point where they just have to go. And for Bernardo, I think he said something like he practices over-underpass thousands and thousands of times, and now he knows it's once he gets somebody there, he can dictate what happens from there because he's just so good at it. Is there a move that you learned like that was it they say don't fear the guy that has 1,000 different kicks, fear the guy that's practiced the one kick 1,000 times?
I'm like the guy that's done it 500 things 500 times. There's a lot of places I feel really comfortable in because I understand everything fails in predictable manners. Every sweep fails if they post. So I just triangle the fuck out of you. It doesn't have to be that deep. I just make, again, everything the same concept. I find the failure point of the original techniques that I learned, like the scissor sweep, hip bump sweep, butterfly sweeps, these basic things. they all fail the same way. And then I just do the same attacks off of them. So a lot of kimuras, arm bars, triangles, omoplatas, because they're all mechanically the exact same thing.
I like that. And how do you think what's it they call it now? The celebrity effect. Because you've got like Aston Kutcher, Keanu Reeves, obviously with John Wick, but I knew he was training before. You got Tom Hardy, Demi Lovato. I think who else has been big? Henry Cavill. All these sorts of people who are talking at jiu-jitsu about it changing their lives and helping them with the movies and all this sort of stuff. How do we avoid falling into the trap of, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu because of so-and-so, but how can we learn from them? Do you see any of them, like habits that they utilize that makes them good, that maybe doing their job, is that helping the sport, them talking it up, or is it bringing in too many people who just want to do it till they see the reality of it?
It's always been the same for me. If somebody comes to jiu-jitsu, whether this was 15 years ago or today, they will quit if they're not in it for the right reasons. It doesn't matter. The amount of quitters now is no more, no less than it was back then. It's just proportionally more because there's a lot more people, right? It's never a bad thing to bring attention to the sport, right? Yeah. Well, there's bad attention with the weird pedophile shit, but other than that weird shit, people bringing to light, no matter if they're famous, whether they're legit or not, like who cares if Demi Lovato is a real purple belt? I don't care. But what matters is she pushes the sport out. And that's always important. That's always useful, because if it could help one person, she did something right. No. It's not always about winning. You can make a difference and not win. You can lose and make a huge difference.
Because there's a video of Tom Hardy, I don't know, is he after like a training session or something, and he's literally just saying, I do it, I know I'm not going to win every role, but I do it because it makes me happy. It keeps me calm, but it also lets me de-stress after all the movies and all that kind of stuff. And he said it kind of keeps him it keeps him. And the same with Henry Cavill. He said he needed something that was his kind of time, like a physical thing. Like he builds computers, but he also said he needed the physical side of that kind of activity, and that was jiu-jitsu. And I love the fact that they're doing it, but doing it for the right reason. They're not just doing it because it's cool. But for anybody who is struggling, you've seen hundreds of students come and go. What separates those that leave? Is it, like you're saying, the wrong reasons? How can they find their way back? I mean, I've been off with a shoulder injury, like I've got a shoulder impingement just now, and I'm feeling a bit kind of, shit, I don't know how to go back. I don't know how to train again. How if we're feeling lost, or we are wanting to start but do it rightly, how can we refine the passion for the sport?
So that's an interesting question, because I get it a lot. How do you stay the way you are? I not once ever thought I was going to quit. I never stopped. No matter how injured I was, I at least was in the gym. And maybe that's because I'm crazy. I don't really know. But I never once thought this wasn't for me. And I was not the most supported person. My original community did not like me. I was an asshole. I rolled hard. I was spazzy. It is what it is. But not once have I wanted to quit. But what I've noticed, the people who stick around the longest are the people who need a purpose in life, or the opposite, they have nothing else better to do. Like the older guys who are doctors and shit, they're like, crap, they need to still feel manly. I don't know a simpler way to put that. Yeah. Every nerd at some point needs to feel like a man. And what's more manly than controlling somebody? Like, I don't know if that's politically correct to say or not, but you look at the biggest nerds in the world who do this sport, they're confident, happy. But you take that same person, that magic playing nerd, and take away jiu-jitsu, and he's a loser. It's more of a self-confidence thing than anything. I think everyone should learn how to find something that makes them feel like they are awesome. And jiu-jitsu just does that for me and a lot of other people.
Yeah, I suppose, because if you think of it, back in the day as a kid, some of the best days you had were rough and tumble with your friends and rolling and throwing each other about. But you never cared about who won or who lost in the end. It was just about the physicalness of it, the connection, the physical exertion of it. And I think as that's been taken out of modern day life, you barely get to sit next to each other on a bus and somebody's you're invading my personal space and all this kind of shit.
Exactly.
And you're like, it's sad the way society's gone now. Do you think
it's interesting?
Would you want more people doing jiu-jitsu for that reason?
It's hard to say for that reason. I just think everyone should do something physical. I don't even care if you do CrossFit, dude. Like something. How can you, I'm just going to use me and you as examples, be a man and not do something physical to take care of yourself so you can take care of others? I just don't understand. That's always been kind of ingrained into me, just I guess by life. No one really told me to be that way. Just I noticed it throughout life. The people who didn't have good father figures or good men in their life or stronger men tended to fail at what they were trying to do. So why not surround yourself by those type of people? I needed that when I was growing up. Jiu-jitsu was that. I had a lot of good father figures in jiu-jitsu. But I also got to be aggressive and physical.
Which helps.
Which helps a lot, yes. It helps a lot.
You can let that part of you out, can't you? You know, that day you've had a shit day and stuff, and you know you can go there and it's what people want to do. I suppose it's the same when I was powerlifting. You knew you could throw the weights around.
That's why I like lifting. That is why I like lifting more now than ever, because I can't go to jiu-jitsu and be an asshole anymore. I'm better than everyone in that room. I'd actually hurt somebody. Now, I lift weights to get my anger and frustrations out, and jiu-jitsu is just the easiest part of my day. But that's also easy for me to say. It's easy for me to say.
I wish it was the easiest part of my day at times. I'm sitting there coming out going, what just happened there? I'm sure I was meant to be winning here, but I go. And do you think that's the thing is too many people are worried about their ego? They're worried about who won that round,
for sure.
We judge each other. How do we stop that?
You don't. You just got to not give a fuck. I can't stop you right now from thinking this guy's nuts or, man, this was a terrible idea. But I cannot care, and it doesn't affect my sanity whatsoever.
Yeah. And was that always ingrained?
I'm not entirely sure. I cared a lot about certain things until one of my main coaches, Alberto, he said, the only people's opinions who matter are the ones who matter. And then, again, I internalized that and realized 99% of people don't fucking matter. So why the fuck should I think about what they think? Care about what they think?
I love the way you do that. Like, you take it's like the Bruce Lee thing. You absorb what's good and you just pump out the bad stuff. And then you just have fun with life. And I really like that approach that you do that, where you kind of just go, I internalize that because it helped me. The bad stuff, yeah, that's it. I roll it away. Literally, in this case.
Yeah.
And what do you do?
What am I going to do about it?
What do you do with like weights and that? Are you doing more weights now as you get older? Are you incorporating yoga?
Oh, shit ton. Like that? All weights. I don't do any stretching, mobility, nothing. I use weights to do it for me. Weights push me down into a deeper squat. I put something behind my back. Weights push down a deeper bench. Don't make it hard.
I suppose that's the principle in it. It's like, why add 50, 60 things and you can just do, like you're saying, why oversimplify, why overcomplicate it? Like,
all I do is bench, deadlift, squat, overhead press. That's it. And then like 2 accessories for each of those.
Are you still doing it? Is it the 5-3-1 you were doing?
Yes and no. I'll use that rep range, but I'm doing more of a push-pull legs now just because why not? It's easier it's just simpler for me to remember what day I'm on because it's not a weak thing. It's do push, do pull, do legs, repeat.
I suppose there's only 3 parts. You know, you can't go wrong there. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I loved 5-3-1, but I found it was very gym centric at the time when it first came out. You had to really have the equipment.
Awesome. I love 5-3-1 because you could literally do just those 4 lifts and improve the way it was set up.
Is it
But
Jim Wendler that created that?
Weirdly, yeah.
Ah,
I
it's
never actually read his book. I just, again, that guy is shredded. I guess I should listen to him.
because that's what I do. Like I've now started watching a lot more sort of, I want to call them YouTube coaches, like sometimes, and I kind of go,
Yeah.
and if I start seeing little bits from each person, and then they'll say something, and I kind of go, how the hell? And then 2 minutes in with you, I was like, jeez, like I've learned more this than I pay in a £60 a month bloody class, and I
It's
just
good to
got,
know.
but you're notorious for cutting through the fluff and for just talking like a pal. Sometimes you say stuff and you're like, fuck, how's he get away with that? But you said in
Yeah,
another
no.
interview.
So I learned that you can be the biggest asshole if you help people after the fact. I used to work in a kitchen, and one of the head chefs, that was one of my first jobs. He said, "You can be the biggest dick you want as long as you're good at your job." I was like, "Fuck yeah, all right!" So I became the best dishwasher ever.
What is it to say? Make yourself irreplaceable, and you can do or say whatever you want. Like,
Exactly, but a lot of it isn't just because this is truly how I talk. I'm not the act like this. Everyone thinks it's an accent. It's just a speech impediment. I'm like stupid with my voice, but it helps me stand out, and I've always used it for that. And same with the way I talk. If like we all love John Donaher, but he's boring as shit. So if I can take that information because he's correct on everything, I'm a systemizer myself. He seems to be more systematic as well. Obviously, enter the fucking system. And if I tell you, hey, stupid, grab the fucking collar here, you're going to listen, or at least you'll remember it, even though you'll be pissed off for a second. Versus, now let's pronate your hand, enter your 4 digits into his lapel, and then say some Japanese shit. But no, it's just too fucking much. Just the 4 words or less should be all you need.
I was trying to remember which video it was. I found your stuff, and I'd literally gone through a few jiu-jitsu videos, and it was like, do this, and we're going to move into Habdi Haragara and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, and then literally I came to your video, and it was, you're overcomplicating this, fuckheads. Just do this, or you're doing this like stupid. I was just kind of like, okay, I'll watch this. And 2 minutes in, I was flicking to your next video, to your next one, and I love that how you just teach as you are you. You don't try to be the characters that some of these other coaches are. You're the same guys behind the mic as you are in front of the mic. But where do we go wrong? Because I think you've got a quote. I had to write it down. Where was it? Stop drilling technique, start drilling movement. Why are things like that so important?
It's always been important. It's just all these new age guys don't do line drills anymore. No one wants to shrimp up and down the mat. And I'm not saying you need to do that forever. Like at purple belt, skipping warm-ups makes sense because you have those basic movements down. But those purple belts are now the motherfuckers teaching. They're not doing warm-ups at all and wonder why people struggle learning when they're teaching a technique. And when I teach, let's just go with a sample week here. We're doing the armbar from guard. I teach you how to literally just bring your hips up first. We spend a whole day. Monday is just on movements. And then the rest of the week, we build off those movements. I teach the same technique system for a week at a time, but a technique is automatically a system to me. Like the closed guard, armbar, that transition between it, that's what I'll go over for a week, sometimes 2 at a time, depending on the room I'm in. And when you spend the time to go over the fundamental movements in the close guard, how to just hold somebody there, it's really easy to move on to the armbar. But most people this day suck at the close guard armbar. People think it's hard. Most people just are not good at it because it's a big transition. It just doesn't have to be if you understand it.
So what are the, like if you had somebody starting just now, like a complete white belt, what would be a mechanic, a principle?
Stand up and base. Stand up and base.
Is that the thing that would knock off, say, 6 months off their learning curve?
Yep, if not more. No joke. When I taught at the Dover Air Force Base, we were very tournament heavy. We all competed then. I had white belts who trained 3 weeks winning golds at white and blue because I would just teach them close guard, arm drag, collar choke, and then the mechanics behind it, and that was it. Now, they would lose if somebody passed their guard. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like foolproof.
Yeah.
But it would set their confidence up. Like I said, confidence is almost everything in the sport. If you think you can, you can. And they thought and knew they could beat people in a tournament setting. So why couldn't they pass the guard? Why couldn't they learn other things? So I found the simplest way in my mind to win a tournament. That was pull guard, do a fucking arm drag, and a bow and arrow choke. I learned that when I was a blue belt. I've won tons of matches with it. So that's what I did. And then we built a system off of that. What if they defend the choke? Pull it, do a triangle. Their hands are up. They're fucking dumb. Cool, you win. It's predictable. And that I would teach concept through system versus the other way around. A lot of people teach concepts first. And if you have nothing to relate a concept to, you're not going to fucking understand it. So I would teach a system and then the concepts through the system. And then we'd add techniques once you understood what a technique was. Sorry, that was a long-winded one.
No worries. You need oxygen it's like jiu-jitsu. You need oxygen to survive.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. I do rant a lot. I'm so sorry.
I mean, is that why we get to the point where I could be, drilling with somebody and they could go, okay, I pull my leg up here and I sit here and, but they don't know the nuances of how to actually grip or pull on that because they don't get taught, like you're saying, they don't get taught the concepts. They just get taught the move. So they don't know how to piece it together.
I agree. They just don't. And that's not entirely their fault. I had to figure a lot of this out on my own. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I only got to study my professor once a month and even less sometimes. And I was on my own teaching for the most part since late blue belt. So until I was a black belt, I didn't have another black belt to train with. Like moving here was the first time I had a black belt to consistently train and nitpick me because Jay, the guy I train with, is a Rob Kahn black belt. And he's very conceptual to a point of annoyance. Like he talks a lot. We're similar, so we butt heads a lot. And it's fun.
I've had Rob Berenaki.
Rob Kahn.
Oh, Rob Kahn.
He's Hoist Gracie's first American black belt. He might be Hoist Gracie's first black belt. I'm pretty sure it's first black belt.
I think that's amazing because like I remember gyms where I would come out and I was rolling with a blue belt from standing, and he said to me, "How'd you pull guard?" He had never pulled guard, and I thought, "How was he a blue belt?" Like, and I was thinking he didn't know how to go from his feet. He'd only ever rolled from his knees. He had never had been allowed to figure that out or be shown how to do it. And I thought, this is scary because there's a whole part of that game then that he's not been taught or allowed to.
Exactly. I think a lot of it comes down to mistranslation of the old school guys, right? Because the old school guys came here not really speaking English. They would over-exaggerate movements so you could see, or what they thought would help you see the technique since they couldn't speak it properly. So if you look at a lot of old school Americans and their technique, it's very exaggerated, right? It's not very tight and technical and pretty. And the same goes with that. We don't train on our knees at my gym. We always start standing, but there's nothing wrong with sitting guard in the gym anyway. If you sit guard in a tournament, I'm going to be really upset with you. But pulling guard's acceptable. Sitting guard is not. Now, I think, again, mistranslation. We did it for safety. When my professor, we always started on our knees, but we did start standing at times, but it wasn't all the time. So we knew how to pull guard, but he also taught us how to pull guard on our knees, so it would apply to standing. So I think, again, it comes to that, hey, they didn't understand how to explain, we're doing this for safety. This isn't how you should do it every day. I hope that came out right. Yeah,
it's because I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like you learn by going, here's a move from here, but a lot of people don't learn how to get to that position or or what to do if they fail from that position. You can see their thing and go, oh, wait, this is how I was shown. That's not what they were to do. They were meant to go left, and they've actually rolled on to turtle. And I'm like, what do I do now? And you can see people sitting stumped going, because they know 6 moves, but they don't know jiu-jitsu from that position. And I think that's where you're doing so well, because you talk about drilling the mechanics and the principles of it. So it doesn't really matter where you're going from or which position.
Yeah.
If you use the principles and the mechanics, you're going to be successful. How
Mhm.
do you want a student to learn this? Is it that, because you said, I'm trying in another interview, you said you want the people who just shut up and do it are the best students.
Yeah, they are.
Do you still think
And it's
that
not,
now?
oh, of course. If you just do what the fuck you're told, well, the thing is, I have grown a smidgen. If you do what the fuck you're told with the right people, you'll go far. But if you do what the fuck you're told with the wrong people, you're going to build bad habits. So, yeah, I do preach that to my students because I think I'm doing things somewhat correctly. But I get, let me think here. I'm sorry. You need to do what you're told in the beginning, no matter what. You need to know how to do the most basic positions, hold the basic positions. And why are you paying me if you don't want to listen to me? That's what it kind of boils down to. Why are you going to pay somebody you don't want to listen to? Why do you think you know better than me? And if you do, then prove it. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm a man of science. If you can prove me wrong, I gladly change. I've changed my technique tons of times because it's been proven wrong. But when you're a white belt in a sport that I spent my entire life doing, what makes you think that I'm going to lead you astray? Why would I do that? It's
You're
one of
wanting
those things
people
that
to
always,
succeed. Yeah.
yeah. And like, I understand that back in the day, black belts didn't want their students to ever catch them. Dude, I have blue belts who can catch me now because they're just principle based. And they just hold me down, and I'm an impatient little fucker, and I try to squiggle my way out because I fucking hate losing, and then I get caught.
You said just now that one of the most important things I probably heard somebody say was like, you will actually willing to change. If you've been taught wrong, you will change it. You will go,
Oh yeah,
I'm going to revamp it. How many coaches? There's probably quite a few who would say, no, I'm never wrong. No, they just didn't understand it.
oh, yeah.
No, they're.
And they might actually be right in context to themselves, right? My professor loves the underhook far side armbar, and he's very, very good at it. I know he's going to do it, and he would rip my arm off 10 times around, and it would just be infuriating. I don't like the underhook. I like cross body control. I don't like side control at all, actually. I don't like the typical this. I think it's outdated, but it works really, really well for him, and he's really good at it, and his students are really good at it because that's what they work on. So I'm a firm believer in whatever you drill and do a ton will be successful. Look at Eddie Bravo. Like he's a great example of that. The 10th planet system is a great example of you do it enough, it'll fucking work, even though it's silly. Is it the most efficient path to victory? Probably not, but you do it enough and enjoy it enough, it'll work.
I remember looking at the 10th planet stuff. I think that was the one I was thinking of earlier. And I can remember going, what the their warm ups, I could barely understand. Never mind I was like, surely this is just silly, the stuff they were doing.
It is silly until you are good enough to understand it, which is interesting because he's a systemizer too. Eddie's a systemizer. And his warm ups were always just systems. Now, the difference between his warm ups and my warm ups are his are really long what if chains like this to that, to this, to that, to this, to this, to that. Whereas I only chain two things. I never go more than two chains because the second part of that is a whole new system now. And now it's at A to B. Now it's B to C. They're different separate entities. That way, I always have an option. I never have to pre-plan anything.
I think there was a video you did where you talked about learn A to B to C to then do the submission, but then you make a system learning off the failure point of that move so that if it is going wrong, have a back door to that and then have a fall to that point.
Yep.
And I love that because no one had ever said that. It was always just, here's the move to do. Stick it into a roll, and you knew what everybody was going to try to do because you just spent an hour practicing it.
Yeah.
But at no point had anybody said, what do you do if they turn here? What do you do if they flip you over? What happens if they block it or they block the pass? How do you then, what can you do from there? And it's like that video game thing of the map opens up a bit more, it engrades because you go into the new area and you see people panic. How do we get to that point then? How do we learn to build that system off the failures of what the opponent's doing on ourselves?
Recognize major positions, mount, back, side control, all of those. You know what those are because everything will funnel to them naturally by default. It's not really a choice. And then like an armbar is a position to me. Like submissions are positions. All right. Once you put that in that terms, it makes it a lot easier to see in your mind. And you have to learn the failure points in the transition because that's where things fail. When you're just holding somebody in side control, you usually don't fail. It's when you're going to mount. They catch you in half guard, right? Now, if I'm going to mount and I know he's going to catch me in half guard, I could just do a front roll and take his back, right? Like there's that cool little G-roll shit. That's what I mean by the failure points. You start to know where they are because you've failed so many times. And then you pick the ones that are the most common. Like, yeah, sometimes you might fail in some crazy ass way where they're somehow on your back. I don't drill for those situations because it's like the 0.1% chance. I drill for the guy who's going to catch my foot in half guard because that's what 99.9% of people will do. Now, do I get caught in stupid shit? Of course, because of that mentality.
Yeah.
But I don't get caught very often because of that mentality. If
I
you're
love
just disciplined in this. Yeah.
I love your way of looking at this. It's like, you kind of pull the different parts of you. It's the fun, the abrasive side, and then the kind of like, I'm going to be controlled, and then you merge them together into a system that works for you. Because you talked in another video about how you don't drill the movement. You drill, where is it? I had to write out. You drill the mechanics that apply to the techniques. Can you go into a little bit about that, about how that's different than the traditional way of doing it?
Most people learn a technique in isolation or they learn a system in isolation. So when they go to roll, they don't have the coordination to actually do it. And I thought when we used to play soccer, anybody can kick a fucking ball, but it's the people who practiced the same step and the same mechanics over and over that could place the ball. And that's just what I do. I saw that an armbar is just a sit out, like the far side armbar is just a sit out. So I went home and learned how to get coordinated in that movement. I would practice it over and over and over until I couldn't mess up. And then I would keep practicing it until I could do it in slow-mo. And then I would keep doing it until I could do it forward, backwards, and inverted. And then when I would go to learn a technique that had that mechanic, it was just really easy to fucking learn because all I had to do was add a grip or two and then I could just do it. I spent a lot of time solo drilling because that was the only option I had. I didn't have training partners at home.
And is that why you talk about we need to know the why to a move rather than just the how to do the move? You need to understand the why because it lets you understand it and be able to apply it from the different principles and the different mechanics. So it doesn't matter where you are, if they're pushing or they're connecting or, I think you had a great video where you were talking to a wrestler who they said, you're just coming in to get connections and you're not blocking their feet and their feet are there to connect and their hands are only being used to defend their feet to get until the opponent gets connections. And you explained it beautifully about how actually will you take the feet away? Why would you go in and let them get connections? Why would you not, elevate their feet? Why would you not do? And it was that moment of, it's this like light bulb after light bulb with your videos. We pick up so many nuances and go, you can see people going, fuck, why are we doing that? And it's because we're always taught the same way because everybody goes the same way. And that's why I think you're an awesome coach. How do you teach people that? How do you simplify complex information down to that, here's the ground, the DNA, the balls to the wall stuff that you need?
You let them fail. You just let them fuck up. And then when they're like, why the fuck is this working? Then I call them an idiot and show them how to do it. You have to let people fail. A lot of coaches will try to teach a technique, even if it's really well done with all the details, in a way that prevents failure, right? they'll teach this most immaculate, detailed armbar from guard, and all the what ifs while they're teaching. Which one, you should never answer what if questions while you're teaching a technique ever. That's just a waste of time because they haven't experienced anything yet. And then they let them drill and roll. The issue comes is they're getting this failure when you say, this shouldn't fail here because you did this, this, and this. Well, it's going to because you suck. It's going to fail, and you need to know how to feel and understand that failure and build off of it. A lot of people don't teach how to fail properly.
I don't think I've ever been... I can't think of any kind of times where we're really taught maybe a lip service to, if this happens, then pull guard. It was always just a kind of get hold of the person and hope for the best kind of thing. It wasn't really... I suppose that's the thing in jiu-jitsu, isn't it? It's that ego thing of, I'll never fail. No one's willing to admit they're going to screw up.
Even if you listen to the best guys talk on interviews, most of them talk about how much they fail in class. Like even Craig Jones, you look at, what was the other one? He's like, I get tapped in class every day. I'm like, that's awesome. That's what you should be doing because you're not learning unless you're getting caught.
Oh, is that Rodriguez?
It might have been, yeah. It might have been. I don't know all the names. I actually don't keep up like I'm supposed to.
I kind of
stay in my own bubble. I stay in my own bubble most of the time.
If you're not getting tapped, if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room. I suppose it's not if you're the coach, but
yeah, but it's just like lifting, right? When a certain lift gets too heavy, right? That you're not getting stimulus in your biceps, then you just isolate the bicep and then use a lighter weight so you don't break your arm off. I do the same thing all the time. I just make it harder on myself with isolation. So I let people get chest to chest side control on me all of the time because I think side control is hilarious to escape. So I just go there all the time. And that's how I get better. You can make a white belt feel like a purple belt real quick if you teach them positional dominance and put yourself in those positions. That's how I grew as a coach and athlete. Like I told you before, I never had more than a blue belt in my classes until recently. And I got my black belt in 8.5 years. You don't need fucking purple belts, brown, black belts to train with. You just need good guidance, discipline, and mostly discipline. Like, yeah, I could submit a white belt any time I wanted at that time, but it didn't make you better. So I would teach them how to hold me down and then have them hold me down. I would teach them how to counter my arm locks, and then I would arm lock them anyway. I would give them all the answers to my problems. I would teach the opposite of what I was working on and situational it. So yeah, some of my earlier students got abused. It just is what it is at the time. They're still my students, thankfully, but they're upset. I'm a lot nicer to my students now.
Probably helped them more than you'll ever know, because I think Rob Bernanke said that because they only had a few people up in his gym. So he said they learned together and he would teach them to be able to give him what for. And then he would learn from them. And then because they were seeing stuff that they would never normally get, they kind of opened up this whole new genre of jiu-jitsu for them. I don't think I ever said that before. I don't think I'll ever say genre of jiu-jitsu again. How do you approach training then? Because are you putting yourself into these uncomfortable positions to learn? Because you've said you're adding principles to your techniques. Is that what you're doing? Putting yourself in the worst situations and finding how to get out of it?
I do that often with positions, but not submissions. I don't believe in submission escapes. That means you fucked up a long time ago. And it's also a longevity thing. Like, I'm not going to let some white belt practice his armbar. Sorry, dude. But you can practice your mount and your chokes, I guess. But when it comes to escapes, you get a lot of reps of that in the beginning of your journey. And that's a good thing. But your offense ends up being lacking. So you need to just beat the shit out of blue belts to have a good offense. But then you become so offensive minded, you figure out what it's like to be on your back. So I try to balance those two things. Like I pay a lot of attention to the clock when I'm rolling. I give usually them a good half the round of me escaping and doing whatever I need to do to practice. And then my second half, I beat the shit out of them. I pass the guard, let them re-guard, pass the guard, let them re-guard. That's how I drill now, personally. I just keep doing what I'm going to do if I say I'm going to do it. And I tell them what I'm doing because it makes it, a little more honest, because then they feel less bad that they got their guard pass 30 times in 4 minutes. But they know I'm just practicing. I don't want them to feel any type of way because, again, whether I care about feelings or not doesn't mean other people don't. Like, I don't care how I feel. Like, I just do what I need to do to get better. But that's how I approach training now. I pick a goal for a while. Like right now, it's been strictly passing, like high passing, because I don't want no one to touch my neck, and just keep doing it until I get bored, which doesn't really happen, unfortunately.
So say you had somebody like myself. Say I'm going to a class and they have a particular way of doing it, like teach a couple of movements from this thing after the warm-ups. Then they have maybe a little game of something, and then they have the rolling sessions. And that's pretty much the concept. A couple of 2 or 3 things to learn, roll at the end for the class, and they kind of go through different positions. How could I take a concept like the mechanics and stuff like we've discussed and implement it into our training in a gym that's not allowed the freedom that you give your students?
Do it at home. I don't know, honestly, what to tell you on that, dude. I am a big believer of take your learning in your own hands. Granted, that was a lot easier for me coming up because I honestly didn't have a teacher in the room with me. I could do whatever I wanted. I was always the teacher. But I had a friend named Austin, and he went to Gracie, like a CTC, but he wanted to get really good at leg locks, and he is very good at leg locks. They obviously don't teach that there. He took his learning in his own hands. He would just do it anyway. He just wouldn't finish. He would just get to positions and let people out so no one would get offended. But during rolling, he would just spam the same thing over and over and over and let them out and do it again. Kind of like what I do, but he wasn't allowed to. You have to take your learning in your own hands at some point. Because after blue, generally speaking, your teacher can't teach you much more. Right? And it's not because they're not good enough. It's not because you're not paying them enough or whatever common reason there be. It's because they have to cater to the masses. And when you cater to the masses, you're probably going to be teaching the same 6 things for 10 years. And if you don't take your learning in your own hands, you're going to stagnate unless you pay for privates, which I don't mind ever doing. Like I find them very valuable, but that's why I don't teach big classes. Everything I do is very 10 or less people. I'm not very good at teaching humongous rooms yet. I'm working on it. But when I teach big classes, it's always a system. And then I walk around a lot and just change. Sometimes I sound like a hypocrite. I'm like, I teach something the way I would do it or the way I've seen it done. And then walk up and say, just don't do that part. It's okay. That part sucks for some people. Like if you're fat and slow, you're not going to be able to do a fucking flying armbar, man. It just is what it is.
I dread to think if I did that to somebody, I'd probably fucking break the floor landing or something.
Yeah, but the principles of a flying armbar still apply to you for falling armbars and closed guard armbars. The principles are the same, just we now add or subtract attributes that we have. So the principles don't change, but the attributes do.
I don't really like that concept. How would you adapt that? So say you had an older person, a fatter person. How I don't know, maybe a young pap who's just started jiu-jitsu. How would you get them to use that idea of the principles don't change, the attributes?
I teach them the exact same thing and watch them both fail in different ways. For example, if you're tall and long, you're going to have a hard time getting your knee back through to get to close guard from half guard. But if you're short and stumpy, it's not so much of a big deal. So I teach them both the same thing. Watch the tall guy fail and be like, look, you ended up in a butterfly hook. Look what you can do because you are tall. And the fat guy, he's not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to crunch up into a little ball very well. But he can play he's going to be able to play a pretty good deep half guard or coyote guard. So if you teach the base position, which is traditional shitty ass half guard, I don't like crossing my feet. I don't like being super connected. But again, that's a me thing. Then you take that and adjust it right? Like it's half guard, and then I'll adjust it down for a fat guy, adjust it up for an athletic guy. There's nothing wrong with using your attributes as long as it's efficient for you. Because efficiency, again, is relative.
I need to see you do
I could,
videos on that. I think that's an
I,
amazing idea.
so the thing is, I'm trying. It's just difficult to. A lot of my reels, I put a lot of time into thinking throughout the day how I'm going to fucking say that in less than a minute. And even still, there's a lot of stuff I want to add. So I think I'll start using YouTube a little more.
I notice you do tend to use a lot more sort of IG reels and shorts and stuff. Do you prefer doing these like little short things because it lets you just continually like do more and more?
Yes, but I get to interact with people more, and I'm a stay-at-home like husband, man. I got nothing to do but gossip all day. So I get to just fuck off on the internet, and Instagram lets me do that a lot more than YouTube does.
So how do you think that's changed you? Since if you look back at the Randy you were before, the fun-loving crazy guy, to the fun-loving crazy guy you are now,
Uh,
how do you think it's changed you? How has becoming a father changed you? How has becoming the house husband, the coach? How do you think you've changed when you look back now? And would you change any of it?
I wouldn't change anything for sure, but the concepts are not different. I'm not much different than I was at 21 in terms of like I had my first son at 21. I was already coaching at 21, but how I approach people is different. I try to approach people a little bit better instead of just saying, "Bro, that fucking sucks." Immediately, I'm like, "Hey." Like it was again, Austin. I'll use him because he's one of my best friends. I was a purple belt, and I just met this guy. Like I just met him, and I just rolled with him, and he was like the top dog at his gym. And I just beat the shit out of him. I was like, "Bro, you fucking suck," and just walked away. And he was like, "That lit a fire under me. I'm glad you did that, but Jesus Christ, that could have came about a little better than that, dude." Like,
I've
that's
heard
just
you say
how it was. That's just how it was.
I've heard you say in another interview where you said something like that we say stuff that should be highly offensive, but we all know it's a joke. We all like we'll insult each other to our faces, but we know we love each other when it's said with when it's said with love. And I was like, I think you said something like, "Oh yeah, if I call you a fuckhead or a dick or whatever, no, it's with love." Or I was just laughing because I was thinking, I think there is that bond, that jiu-jitsu bond. How can you develop it? How do you make friends through jiu-jitsu? Because I think that's something people struggle with.
That's funny you bring that up. We were talking about this the other day. I find jiu-jitsu the easiest place to make friends because it's the one place it's not fucking weird to be like, "Hey, you want to go get a beer?" Because as a man, it's weird to walk up to another man and it'd be like, "Want to hang out?" When you're an adult, right? It's just kind of odd when you don't have anything in common with somebody. But jiu-jitsu, the one common thing everyone has, whether it's self-defense, whether they're an idiot, whether they're good, bad, it doesn't matter. They all care about self-improvement, right? Almost all of them. Of course, there's exceptions who just show up, I guess. I don't know. I don't have any of those right now. But everyone wants the same thing. They all want to get better. And including myself, I just want to get better. By default, make you better makes me better. It's almost selfish. If you're good, that means I can get better. And that makes it really easy to make friends when you know you have the same goals. It also makes it really easy to talk shit. Like it's fun.
And do you think that's where people struggle? It's because we're so, in today's society, we're now at the point of we all have our private space. You keep yourself to yourself. You don't tell anybody. You can send dates to your house with your phone. You can order food to your house. We've forgotten how just to be a tribe.
People. Oh my God. So people may think I'm an asshole because I'll say to your face, "You fucking suck." But I'll also walk up to you and tell you how much I care about you. I have never been afraid to express my emotions to another man, woman, person. It didn't fucking matter to me because I find that important. Self-expression is very important. And letting people know how you feel about them is important, whether good or bad. If I don't like you, I'm going to tell you I don't like you so you can decide what to do with that. I'm not going to pretend we're friends. I don't teach people I don't like. We kind of run them out the door. And it's not personal. They just don't fit in. And I have a culture I want to uphold. And it's not that we're not welcoming. We have all kinds of different backgrounds. We have people who've never done a sport. We have people who've played sports their whole life. We have all kinds of people. We have military. We have non-military, mostly military. And but no matter where you come from, you should still want that self-improvement. And if you don't have that, you probably aren't going to work in our gym.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. That you're there because you're all wanting to learn the same sport and you're wanting to improve yourself. So why would you not try to find the people who are, well, it's almost like why overcomplicate it? Why not go to a place that you all like the same stuff and try and just go, well, we like this. How about we like each other and do something?
Yeah. And there's 15 other gyms in my area, dude. It's ridiculous here. I always tell people when they walk in the door, you have options. It's not personal. I understand. If you want to go check other places out, go for it. Because I'm not for everybody. I am painfully aware of that. But at the same time, I'm for a lot of people who miss the realism of the game, life. Seems like that niche is starting to get filled a little more.
I love how you're sort of open and kind of just bigger of a viewpoint you have than a lot of coaches who you only hear them talk about jiu-jitsu. You incorporate a lot of life stuff into your videos as well. And, you're very you've got a lot of depth to it. And it's something that's missing a lot of in jiu-jitsu. We don't see that
in everything. It's missing in everything, man. Nobody fucking looks at the deeper picture of anything anymore. And I'm not old. I don't want to pretend to be some wise old sage. I'm 33, dude. I've just been through a lot. And I would take those shitty situations and just try to learn from them versus let it define me. I don't understand the people who have something bad happen to them and then let it just ruin their fucking life, dude. I don't get it.
Make a personality out of that.
Exactly. Like the whole victim mentality, I just don't get it. I understand even I had moments where I just want to vent versus have my problem solved. But that's what my wife's for. I'm not going to fucking talk to you about it. That's not your place.
No. I always say that to people what's it the saying? I'd rather listen to you moan than go to your funeral.
And yeah, exactly. People don't want to talk anymore about their problems, which is frustrating. But at the same time, if you're going to talk about your problems, be willing to help solve them. There has to be that middle ground. You can't just complain forever. But I also don't want you to go fucking off yourself. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a middle ground there that needs to be explored a little more often than not.
Mm-hmm. So what other ways, because originally when I had this question, it was, what's mental frameworks and habits do you use to kind of to view life, that makes you and you can view that kind of like at this kind of level. But that's probably overcomplicating it. After now I need to get to the simplification of it.
No, it's okay. I'm pretty good at breaking it down.
So what makes you then? Do you have things like that you will only stand for this, and this? Do you have a viewpoint where this is the most important thing, or I need more of this to survive? Is there things that the non-negotiables in your life?
There is no absolutes for the most part, I don't think. Let me think here. Generally speaking, I try to be balanced in as many things as possible without hurting anyone else. If for example, I might have an opportunity to go overseas and teach at the end of November, but that's Thanksgiving and my wife wants family time. So I have to balance those things. But I also believe you should make yourself happy, but not at the expense of your wife, for example. Like I would never do anything to make myself happy if it hurt my wife. But at the same time, she would never stop me from being happy because that she's my wife. It's just how it is. And that's a thing people don't do is balance their life. Pick a person, and I think it doesn't matter who. Well, it does, but it doesn't have to be a wife per se. It could be a friend. I don't know. I've always picked my person and made them the center of my universe because she really is the center of my universe. She is the reason I can do what I do. I get to stay home. I get to take care of all these people on the internet and teach them and help everybody. But that's probably the only thing that you have to pick somebody. I know I'm getting off topic. I'm trying to think of how I would word this. I wasn't prepared for that one. I'm sorry.
No. Well, I mean, how would we find that? Like, because you seem to have a lot from the relationship where she lets you be you let her be her, and you kind of find a balance between it that works well for both of you. You let both sides of you out.
This might make it easier to understand. When my first wife passed away, I knew I wanted to have a family. I was like, that's important to me. And I was 28, and that's too young to be thinking I'll be alone forever, all things considered, And I know what I want in everything. Like, I know exactly what I want, how to do it. I just have to actually go fucking do it, It's nothing. Everything you could want is already Googleable. You can just Google it and just do the fucking work. And I knew what I wanted in a relationship, and I just didn't deviate. I didn't let other parts of me do the thinking for me. And when I was doing all my dating, I got tired of it because no one was what I wanted. I spent like 10 grand going on dates in a month, dude. It was absurd. And I tried to accelerate the process, and which you can do with money, obviously, if you go on a lot of dates and meet a lot of people, you can accelerate it. And I realized everyone's pretty much the same. They're all at my age group are very similar. There's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't for me. And then I met her, and I knew her. We went bowling and just talked for like 6 hours. I was like, yep, that's the one. I knew that day. I told her that night. I was like, yep, we're going to get married now. And
what did you say?
Married. She was like, are you nuts? I was like, well, yes, but I know.
So that's for you to find out soon, like.
Yeah, so I was always very upfront and very honest with everything I've ever done or been, or I just don't see a point in hiding anything about myself anymore. And that made it really easy to find a partner I actually wanted. When you're completely honest and know exactly what you want, they can decide if you are what they want and the other way around. And that's how I took that concept with everything. Jiu-Jitsu is exactly what I want. I know exactly what I get out of it. I know exactly what my goals are. But yes, my goals changed throughout time. I used to want to be a world champion, and I realized I wasn't that good. So I was like, those who can't do, teach. And then I was like, wait. I can't just be a teacher because then I'll look like a pussy online. So I need to actually be able to so I competed. And so I tried to balance both. I competed, I taught, and I was a student. I tried to do all three. I'd rather be in the top 90% than the top 1%, I'd rather be in the top 10%, sorry. I'd rather be that top 10% in as many things as possible, like lifting, fitness, every major position in jiu-jitsu, than be that 1% because it's not worth it to me to put all that effort into one thing when I could be really good at lots of things by just being conceptual and applying it to all over the place.
So then what is success to you? Like, that you've got the wife, you've got the family, now that, you've got the YouTube, you've got a lot of great friends through the thing. I'm sure you've made a lot of fun. What is it for you now?
I have no idea because there's always something in me that wants to keep trying to do more. I heard another podcast and they're like, you have all these little avenues, side hustles, things you do. And I used to be really poor and had nothing. And now I have everything I could possibly want and still have nothing because I just don't want anything. So I don't know why I do what I do often. Like, I don't have the best answer for you, unfortunately. I just can't help but keep moving, keep trying to better myself. I guess the biggest thing you would say is I try to better people around me a lot more. I'm a little less selfish, for sure. But that's what Instagram, at first, I didn't start it to fucking help people. I started it to build a name for myself. So when we kept moving, I would be able to find a job. But then it turned into what it is now. And I'm like, this is great. Everyone thinks this is helpful. All right. It feels a lot better to help a lot of people than just get a follower account.
I love that because so many people do it for the wrong reason. They do it for the ego, they do it for the money, whereas you were just doing it just to kind of get your stuff out there. And it's, I don't think you sort of appreciate just how your level of depth and honesty is so refreshing and it's so inspiring. It's kind of like, fuck, wow, it really hits home and it makes you kind of want to be a better man as much as a better jiu-jitsu practitioner by watching your stuff, especially some of the stuff you've said tonight. Is there a transition that you've seen a student make that has really inspired you? Has there been feedback you've gotten about how you've really changed somebody, or something that you could think of where you've been blown away by the transformation in that person?
I have two students, and both of them are the godparents to one of or the other of my kids right now. One is Gabby, and she runs a gym in Delaware, where I'm from, and the other is Chase. And Chase in particular,
Gabby the one that you did the video about how to roll with a woman?
yeah, yeah. Gabby's one of my first students. She was the first person to ever pay me, right? So she's been just with me the whole time, and I just constantly beat the shit out of her. I'm a lot nicer to her now, but Gabby's gone through it, man. She is a tough cookie. And I think that's why she's so talented, because I never treated her like a flower. I just treated her like a smaller dude. But oh yeah, back to that question. So Chase, I was having a hard time. I was always on my phone. I was fucking off in class because I was going through just life problems, relationship problems. And he was like, dude, you're kind of fucking up because we're all here to learn and you're just sitting there being an asshole. And I think I was a brown belt at the time. And it was really important that he told me that, because I was like getting sucked into the wrong things, focused on the wrong things. Like, yeah, I cared about my relationship, but at the same time, I was in this space, so I needed to focus on this space. And I saved that message for years. I deleted that when I got married because I didn't need it anymore. But I saved that message for a very long time and would reference it because it helped me a lot. Put in a perspective that I just need to focus on what I'm doing instead of the bad things at that point in time. And Chase, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, was that how you don't read, you don't do visualization, meditation stuff? You seem to take a lot of things that other people say and kind of absorb it and utilize the teachings? Is that what happened with Chase?
Yeah. So Chase, he went to like Catholic boarding school, so he's a smart guy. He has his flaws, just like we all do. I have to tell him to clean his fucking room when he was in the military. Like, we always fuck off. But he, one time we were hanging out with my older son, because he's my older son's godfather. And we dropped him off back to his mom's and we were just hanging out. He's like, dude, I wish my dad did all the shit you guys do together. And that's when I really realized I was making a difference to people, not just in the game. And that was really humbling in a way, because like I never got humbled getting beat up in jiu-jitsu. I expected that to happen. But all the people who tell me they help them in some way that's not jiu-jitsu related is pretty humbling, because I just think I'm some regular dude with a little bit of discipline autism, and that's it. And like, I don't think I'm special. I just do what I feel like I need to do. I'm not afraid of I'm not afraid to fail. It's going to happen. Why be afraid of what's going to happen?
But that's a beautiful thing to say. I mean, it's so many guys always go, no, they don't want to talk about anything about loneliness, depth, loss. No one wants to think of themselves as not the best. And the fact that you can just say,
especially men.
No. How do you find that with your guys in your class? How do you see that change in them as you kind of talk to them and work with them and sort of befriend them?
I have one of my students who just came back, and I'll leave his name out of it. It's a little personal. He had a lot of issues with women. He was a big playboy. He's 22. He's handsome. And he has some previous life situations happen. And he was gone for a couple of weeks, and I was just like, bro, what the fuck? Where you at? And he's just being an idiot. I'm like, you got to get back here, dude. Because ultimately, the sport is just a vessel. Like my lacrosse coach always said, it's not about lacrosse, it's about life. And all sport is a place to fail in a controlled environment to learn. And I do that with jiu-jitsu. I kind of get sad that it's so sportified, and it's almost a red flag if your instructor kind of tries to help you in life or gives you life advice now. But I tried to balance that too. I don't give anyone advice unless they ask now, or unless they're obviously fucking up something. But I try not to intrude because, again, it's ultimately not my place. But to have people like Chase and Gabby who would seek out it and listen and then apply it the way I applied it or similar, it's really, I don't know how to explain that entirely. It's really helpful. I'm glad I could help them fix certain things in their life through a sport that ultimately doesn't fucking matter. Like, we're just grappling a bunch of dudes. It doesn't matter in the end.
I love that concept of sport being an organized way to fail. Give it a chance to fail, to learn to fail, to grow. And, I love that you seem to have grown and developed yourself through helping the others. What was the change that you saw in Gabby? How has she sort of blossomed when you're not beating her up?
So Gabby is just quite impressive. She's a full-time nurse. She's a mom. She runs the gym. She owns the gym, runs a gym. She teaches gymnastics. She was a gymnast first. Like, she is quite impressive with all she does and all she has to balance. And I honestly think the biggest thing I helped her with was just trying to balance everything and not take it so seriously, because she puts 100% into everything. And you just physically can't do that when you have that much going on. And it was probably a couple of weeks ago. I was like, take a few weeks of just coasting in jiu-jitsu, be an eco coach. That's an easy job. Just make them play games and sit on your phone for a couple of days. Like, chill. Because she's the only teacher, so she can't not be there. But you can still benefit your students while relaxing. You don't always have to grow. Sometimes maintaining is good enough.
And how did you do that with Gabby? How did you get her to see it for fun and enjoyment? Because I'm notoriously bad at.
I stopped beating her up. I would like roll for fun. The last couple of times I go back to Delaware, it's always fun. I don't roll hard when I visit anymore, unless somebody pisses me off. Then I'm like, all right, motherfucker, let's go. But other than that, I try to keep it a little more fun and only serious when it needs to be. Like, I find people learn life lessons faster in a laughing environment versus a serious one.
So what do you want from this then? Like, if you were on your deathbed now, what would you want people to say about you now that when you look back at jiu-jitsu, when you look back at your life? Because you've done amazing things. You're helping so many people. But
I would want people to just realize, no matter how I come across, the goal in the end was the same, just to help people. Because even when I was a blue belt, being kind of a jerk, all I ever did was teach and help people the best I knew how at the time. And I am still not liked in my home state because of just the way I came across. And I've come to terms with that. It took a while. Because some people, first impressions last a lifetime, and I had to understand that. But it is what it is. Just that the goal was always the same. The methods changed, but the goal never changed.
And do you utilize anything? Do you try journaling? Do you do meditation? Do you just discuss it with friends and stuff and try to make sense of it through your head? Or
a lot of it's just I think, and I don't know. I don't really actively meditate per se, but I lift, or when I'm driving, I think, things like that. I think a lot, but I don't like sit there and do the whole kind of thing.
No. I tried the Headspace, the one that is like a guided 10-minute thing, and I thought, this is shite. 2 minutes in, I was kind of like, okay, I can see the point of this, because it wasn't that like I'm the day shite. It was just the sit down and try to let your thoughts go, and you're like, oh, okay, I can see the point in this. Mm-hmm. But I've used up so much of your time. I would love to have you back on.
No, yeah. Of course, anytime. I don't really I know anything.
I say that because there's still so many rabbit holes I'm trying to avoid going into, because I was thinking we could talk about these things for days, but until I can have you on again, and I've honestly knew you were going to be good, but the depth of your answers has blown me away. Like, I love how open and honest and vulnerable you've been about everything. what do you want people to remember from this? Because we've covered so many amazing
Dude,
things, from jiu-jitsu to
is-
life to beating up your students to how you met your partner and made a beautiful family. What do you want people to take from this?
bro, just be okay with failing. Men should already be okay with it. 99% of times you walk up to a chick, you're getting rejected. Just take that mentality into everything. Like, you can't take it personally. And again, I wasn't always good at that. There were times I was like, man, I know I'm better than you, but I lost. Doesn't fucking matter. I lost. It doesn't matter if I'm better.
Mm-hmm.
But being okay with failing over and over again, and the only way to get comfortable with it is to just keep failing over and over again, and eventually you'll be all right. And again, it's a controlled environment. Jiu-jitsu is the easiest fucking sport because you can tap at any moment and it resets. I tell my guys, just tap to reset. It's not losing, it's resetting. Whereas other sports, you can't tap in the middle of a football tackle. Like, you're getting blasted, dude. It's just the way it is. But you got to be really okay with failure and knowing when you failed. Again, tap on time. Know when it's time to go, man. You fucked up. It's okay. Just move on. Have amnesia.
Is that the best thing to do? Is that just see it, admit it, and then just go on? No one's remembering the taps. We're only remembering the fun.
Exactly. When I played soccer, one of my coaches was like, you can't get mad at every ball that goes in. You got to have amnesia and pretend it didn't happen so you can continue the game. And that, again, took me a while to understand. But because if you let that goal bother you, another goal is going to follow it. And the day I learned just to not give a fuck and learned that people cheer more for saves than goals, that put it in a perspective for me.
Oh, beautifully put. I mean, I can remember I would think about a tap. I could have a brilliant training session, and the one thing I tapped would be the thing I'd be pissed off about the whole weekend because I had been tapping rather than just going, actually, that was quite good.
And then that's also it can be healthy to focus on the failure, but not be negative. But that's that balance. I don't focus on the things I did well in class. I focus on the places I messed up and how to fix it. But I'm not mad at myself for fucking failing. I'm not angry anymore. And again, I was. One of my coaches said in soccer, again, I hated this one because it fucked up my mind for a while, but it made sense. The goalie is the only person on the field whose mistakes show up. My mistake shows up on the scoreboard. And that messed with me for a while because it's true, but it also is very negative. So it took a while to get over that one too.
I love that approach you have of kind of, okay, it affected me, but I don't let it beat me. I then learn from it. I take what's a good part of it, and then I use that to grow.
That's a concept I do with literally everything, big and small. Like, soccer goal, my wife died. I did the exact same fucking thing. Same thing.
And how do you do that? How do you learn? Was that always part of you, or have you learned to do that?
It was always part of me since high school. So I don't really remember before that because I had awesome high school lacrosse and soccer coaches who mentored me a lot because I fucking needed it. I was, again, very explosive and angry all the time. And since then, I just, again, internalized it and tried to make that who I was. And so nothing really bothers me. Like, I've had somebody rob my car. I'm like, fuck, I should have locked my door, I guess. Like, yeah, well, everything's within your own control when it's in your head. Your own emotions you control.
And do you think that they were the father figure that you needed at that point, and you're doing the same now to the future generation of jiu-jitsu people?
I'm trying, but yeah, for sure. My dad, the older I get, the more I realize I am a lot like that guy. He was very meticulous. He's very organized. He's very systematic. He's really good at, if he can see it, he can do it. With engines, he likes dirt bikes, cars, that kind of thing. I don't know anything about those, but he was very good at that. And the older I get, the more I realize I'm the same way. I just took a different path.
No, you're doing amazing. And the fact that you've found a route to who you wanted to be, you've achieved the things, and it's fucking inspiring, man. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for the amazing transformation you've done, but you're also now giving that back, and you're making jiu-jitsu fun again,
I try.
which
It
is
is fun,
bloody
man.
hard. Like,
Jiu-jitsu is fun. Even the bad parts are hilarious. Like getting muffled to tap is hilarious. Whether you're doing it or getting it done to you, either way, it's just the funniest fucking thing to me. Like, you suck bad enough, you got muffled.
I think what was the one when was it mother's milk, when you basically just rub your tits in their face and you're kind of like, can we do this? I remember I did over underpass to a girl, and she didn't realize that was an actual pass, and she thought I was just like, I was thinking, what do you think I was doing? Dry humping you? It was.
Oh my god, I got one of those stories. Oh man, that'd be a quick one. Let me tell you this one. This is hilarious. So I learned the rear naked choke by breathing all my air out, compressing, and then using my back and chest to finish the choke with my breath. So I was grappling this pretty Brazilian chick, and I breathed all my air out, got her back in, breathe in, and choked the fuck out of her, right? And I get a message from her, and she's like, "Why were you sniffing my hair?" And I'm like, "Oh God, no! I promise, I was just doing the choke. No, I'm not creepy. I promise. I'm not creepy yet. I promise. I'm not old enough to be creepy. I don't think. Not yet."
That's maybe an actual. That's maybe an area we should cover. How do guys avoid being creepy cunts? Because there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys who...
Dude, honestly, just don't be. Like, there's a stupid trope, but it's also true. It's only creepy if you're ugly. Like, I know that that's a thing, too, and it's unfortunate for some gentlemen who are just different looking. But don't make it more than it is. Like, if you accidentally grab a tit, say, "Oops, sorry," move on. Don't make it a big deal either direction. Don't be nonchalant like you don't care, but also don't over apologize 7,000 times. Just move on. Like if you look at Gabby, she's pretty. It's grappling. It is what it is. I'm going to grab her. I'm going to choke her. She wears fucking short shorts. What do you expect me to not touch her legs in grappling? It just is what it is. Just don't make it more than it is.
And usually the 115-pound girl is the one that kicks your arse the whole way through the round.
They're the only ones who kick you in the dick too, because they don't have one. I remember, man, Gabby's hit me in the dick so many times. I'm like, motherfucker.
I trained with a girl, and she came to me after the round and said, "Oh, that guy's creepy as fuck." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I have a younger sister, so I'm used to getting told I'm a cunt and all this to my face, and she's not shy, But this girl, and I've always learned to treat people the way you want to be treated. And this girl came to me, and she was saying about this guy who had felt her up. Basically, she said the first time I let it go because it was a roll. Second time, okay, and she said by the third time, I'm thinking you're doing this deliberately. And I just thought, really? Is this what you're going to do? Go to a sport to feel up people that, it's like people who buy OnlyFans rather than learn to speak to women.
Oh, dude, yeah. I don't get it. I don't understand. But it is ultimately a contact sport, and it may be a male-dominated sport, and I love that are women joining it. It's very awesome. But they also have to understand that this is a contact sport. Your tits and ass are going to get touched. It just is what it is. You can't take it personally.
I pay good money for mine to get touched.
Exactly. That's why all these middle-aged dudes are doing it. They're lonely. This is the new form of IPA, man. Instead of joining a beer IPA club, they start jiu-jitsu.
I've had some of the worst injuries from jiu-jitsu. Like girls knee me in the throat, in the back of the head. They're like, "Yeah, women are
ferocious. Women are ferocious, man. They think they can't hurt us, but at the same time, they are smaller, weaker individuals. So
I wish they would learn teach themselves that, because the first class I got, I had a girl growling at me because she couldn't get my arm free for an armbar, and I was kind of like, "Oh, so we're in this part of women, are we now?"
You can't have your cake and eat it too. You really can't.
She was actually
That's
growling, and I was just like, "This is strange." I don't know.
I treat women like smaller guys. That's all I do. I don't treat them any differently because it's a lose-lose. If I treat you like a girl or the typical girliness and gentle, you think I'm patronizing you. And if I'm too hard, you think I'm an asshole. So I just roll with everyone the fucking same. I don't care if you're a girl. I don't care if you're 110 pounds or 185 pounds, whatever you are. I'm going to beat you up the same way I beat up the skinny white dude over there. I don't care. Now, I don't usually use knee on chest with women because that's just not nice. But I do that to dudes all the time. So that's probably the one exception I'll make is like I try not to be put pressure on their chest, and that's about it. Everything else is fair game.
No, that sounds a good way to do it. And is there any like accessories you think we should all have? Because we have people who have tape dap, knee sleeves, elbow pads, bloody you name it. Apart from caps, are there anything that you think? Any good supplements? Any accessories we should all have?
If you don't need it, no. I don't. I believe a braced knee is a weak knee. You shouldn't wear braces, tape on your fingers, nothing unless you need to use it. Maybe need pads for like if you're doing wrestling or something for preventative, but I don't use a mouth guard. I use tape for grip. Like I don't use tape to protect my fingers. I use it a no-gi more than gi to grip people. But when it comes to like safety accessories, no. But when it comes to like, you should have some Tiger Balm and you should have some antimicrobial shit. You should have decent gear. You shouldn't have the cheapest, but you don't need the most expensive.
And you shouldn't have ringworm. The number of people who sit there and they don't wash their gi, and you're just like, it shouldn't be able to walk in on its own, for fuck's sake. But you've been an absolute star. I can't believe how easy it is to talk to you. I can feel like we could chat for hours yet, but I know you've got stuff to do. But what would you want people to take from this going forward to keep it in touch with you? How do we follow this journey? Because you should be bringing out instructionals, websites. But how can we connect with you and see what you're doing from there?
Instagram, really, because I have that little group chat setting on there. So I post everything on there, but I also post if I'm like selling something or because I also have friends and family. So I'll post on there too. And I don't really have instructionals per se. I have these little clinics I've made for people that I sell on Gumroad for like $20 or less. Like I never really cared about making a ton of money with it. I plan on doing more with it. But again, I don't plan on making full-length 3-hour instructionals on anything because I think that's ridiculous. I think you should just learn a technique at its deepest levels and the transition between the two techniques or positions at its deepest level and build a system off of it. And I could do that. And if you already know the basic techniques, I could do that in 20 minutes. You just have to actually apply it.
Why overcomplicate it?
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is.
Jiu-Jitsu is not that hard.
Dude, it's fucking not. I never thought it was hard. I just sucked. There's a difference.
I will not say, but I was definitely that as well.
Dude, I sucked ass, but I knew what I needed to do. I just wasn't coordinated enough to do it yet.
Well, what's your Instagram handle for those listening?
It's Black Belt Randy with underscores. So Black_Belt_Randy.
Well, that's it for another week. And thank you for listening. It's now time to take what you've learned and use it to develop and enhance your life with the key points mentioned. Listen, try it, embrace it, use it, and crush it. Now's your time to hit that next level in your life. If you liked this episode, then please leave a comment on the show notes or a review of the show on your podcast platform. Everything helps evolve the show. Until next week, keep seeking the next level in your life.